So this is the topic today, the Unite the Kingdom March, yet another one. These people, they've got no clue. Hi, Malik, good to see you. These people got no clue, have they? They don't realise that they're just scared people and racist people. And they try to deny all of these things. Weak people, the weakest species on the planet right now are these guys. So insecure, so fearful, so behind in terms of their development. Honestly, they have no idea, no clue. They don't even identify with these feelings and emotions. They don't. Right, we've got somebody who wants to come up. Hello there, how are you?
What's up?
What's up, the sky? How are you today?
Good.
Good. So this is the topic today. You've got an American accent. I don't know if you're aware of what's going on in the UK.
No.
So what's the reason why you've come onto my panel today? Hi, Anne-Marie.
What's going on in the UK?
I'm not here to educate people. You chose to come up on the panel. What's the reason for that?
Because your prompt says, why are white people so scared and racist? So I'm wondering what they're scared about, first of all.
Don't you know? You literally are very lonely today. Obviously, I've disconnected you. This is a very clear prompt. Come up here and discuss it. That's a lot of dead air. You're obviously bored. I mean, in your time zone, is it not time for you to be sleeping? I don't know. This is what I mean, like white people. Come on, like, try. I know it's hard in the brain. I know it's hard in the mind, but let's get some of those synapses firing. If you want to ask any questions, you can ask questions in the comment section. Hi, anti-racist mom. Good to see you. So we've got someone else who wants to come up. Yes, we've got the Enigma. How are you today?
How you doing, sister? I'm actually a black American. I seen the prompt, so I'm very happy to see that we have some of our sisters and brothers really checking the white tea people in UK. I just seen the Caucasoid homunculus Neanderthal that tried to come up here, and what I have to say, I'm going to drop out for a little minute because I know you probably looking for oppositions right now.
No.
But what I have to say about
Wait. No. Welcome to my space. I talk to everybody. So please stay.
Oh no, thank you. Yeah, and I just wanted to say that you're going to get a lot of white Americans coming in here and passing by, because white Americans compared to white Europeans are a complete different breed of white people. So you have to understand what you're dealing with when you're dealing with these Caucasoid homunculus Neanderthal troglodytes. So yeah, I just want to say I'm just very happy to see, my cousins overseas, really checking the shit. And I am very familiar with a lot of the great replacement theory that's going on across Europe right now, especially in the UK. They are scared. They are scared because they understand that their time is up when we talk about everything that's been going on throughout the world when it comes to melanated people across the globe, because we are the original phenotype. Anywhere that you go on the world, you're going to find black people. Any skulls, any bones that you find, the deeper in history, the blacker it gets. So that's just what it is. We are the original people. We are the first, and we are going to be the last. So I just wanted to say that. So they are scared and they are very much racist.
Yeah, so this is the thing, right? Obviously, you hear a very colonized accent from me, born and raised in Britain. This is where I talk a lot on my platform, right, about history, about how it all started in Europe via Britain, actually, when the Germans came from Northern Europe and they came to Britain, this is the Anglo-Saxon tribe, they are the ones that exported all that
Exactly.
bullshit and what you guys are dealing with in America. So we're at the epicenter, we're at the hub. And unfortunately, my island, Britain, is still very colonized. I feel like I'm
Yes.
very rare in terms of black people speaking out about this in the ways that I do. I literally have to be
Yes.
so on this. My moderators are great. I've got some of them here already. The racism that we deal from English people, if you haven't seen it yet, you'll see it's the same people, the same shit. And when you clock that first guy who came up, like really struggling to understand so much dead air, it is honestly common in England. It's so common. And then, you know, you're on this platform when they can't think of anything to say, they just drop slurs at the end of it. When they finally string sentences
exactly.
together, right, and they come up with some kind of thoughts, they end up crashing out, and then they just go back to their default racism.
Yeah. I mean, and dealing with, because I do a lot of panels on here as well. Just debunking a lot of the lies that they spew amongst a lot of Black Americans, because we're at the lowest of the totem pole. I don't know if you know what's going on in America as far as what Donald Trump did with the Voting Rights Act, but a lot of my my grandparents, my cousins, their cousins have actually like walked in the civil rights. So I can tell you, my cousin Casilda Luna, she's actually, because I am also Afro-Dominican as well, because there's a lot of Black Dominicans in the Dominican Republic. She walked with Dr. Martin Luther King, and she fought for Black rights as well within the American sphere. So I come from civil rights leaders, you know what I'm saying? But just seeing what's going on right now and how they're trying to go back to Jim Crow is a very scary thing. And we have to talk about this, because at this point, we have to understand that, white people as a whole, I'm not talking about in America, I'm not talking about in Europe, I'm talking about on a global scale. They are the global minority. Not only that, there was a book that, I don't know if you know who the white woman, Elliot Jane is. She actually, Jane Elliott. And she actually talked about this book called I think it's called The Birth Dearth or something like that. And basically that book talks about, the declining birth rates amongst white people globally. And this is where we're getting at, is that they're starting to understand that, like our race is literally dying out. Not only that, the white supremacist talking point that they're the superior race. I mean, if you guys are so superior, the first thing that I always say is that, because my theory is that basic hygiene goes with IQ, right? So when we talk about, just basically washing your hind parts and whatnot, because us as Black people, we use washcloths first and foremost. I don't care what part of the world you're in. We use washcloths, and we wash from feet on up to neck. We wash every orifice of our body. And the thing about it is, the reason why I correlate that with the IQ is because for these people to say that they're, superior in every way, but you guys don't know how to wash your ass, like that's just basic common sense. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they have whole
Are you aware of a time in history, in British history, called the Great Stink? Are you aware of this?
Oh yeah, I was just about to get to that. Oh, I'm very well versed on history, and this is where, cause see what we have to understand about the Caucasoid is that these people, they're very narcissistic at their core. Yes. So they love to brag about their history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And because I've been debating with these people since I was 15. I'm 27 now. So the thing about it is that I actually use their history against them. You know what I'm saying? So then we have to.
Right, you're 27
go ahead,
years
sister.
old. 27.
Yes.
Can I tell you, the 20-year-olds that I get from the UK, they can't talk like you can at all. They are literally in their 40s or 50s who actually know history, understand it, can, like I always say, string sentences together, can be comprehensive. 27
exactly.
in the US and the Black Americans compared to 27 in the white UK British. night and day. Truly.
Exactly. And the reason why that is because in America we understand that because we're around these white people in a history that's been caused to us the harm is that we have to be is twice as good, 3 times as good as them. So, with me, I've always excelled in English. That was my subject. I took that seriously. Not only that, but history as well. So I wanted to conduct myself in a what's the manner in
You want to
a
have a higher standard for yourself. You want to have a higher standard for yourself. You see what's around you,
exactly,
and you're like you're able to reflect, and that's the problem with narcissists. They're not able to do that. I always have this analogy, right, that we are the ones, especially black and brown people. We hold up the mirror to humanity, right? We say we clock something that's wrong. We hold up the mirror and say, you know what, this is the problem. This is how we should fix it, or this is how you should fix it. But white people, because in their narcissism, they don't see a mirror. They see a window and they look through to us.
Exactly.
Right? And they say, well, no, you're the problem. The issue is with you. Why are you like this? Why are you doing that? And we're like, what? What? We're asking you to do something for the good of everybody else around you. But I always say this, right? I always say that white people, and I'm talking specifically about the white Western European, right? Because the Eastern Europeans, they were doing their own stuff. They were completely different. So the white Western Europeans, right? They are a nation of narcissists and sociopaths with psychotic ancestors. They are refusing to accept how much terrible stuff has been done to humanity. And they probably do the same in the US, right? In the UK, they say, well, every empire was the same and everyone was the same. It was not the same. It was not.
It definitely wasn't. And see, what a lot of white Americans like to do to try to justify chattel slavery that happened in America is that they like to bring up the Irish and what happened to the Irish. And what I have to always explain to them is that, all right, and even if that was true, because a lot of the Irish were not enslaved at all at one point, a lot of Irish scholars actually fight against that rhetoric. Not only that, but even if that was the case, what race of people were enslaving theIrish? We have the British, right?
Man, you're so damn lost, bro.
And what race are the British people? You know what I'm saying? So
1 minute, everybody. Let me introduce you to how I run my live, okay? So Maze, you've interrupted a couple of times. Let me introduce you. Obviously not new, you don't know who I am. On my panel, we don't interrupt. I already just said I will bring people in one at a time, okay? So please have some patience. Please have some respect for everybody else on the panel. If you do interrupt, like after I've told you, you will be dropped, okay? So if you want to say something and you feel it's important that you need to say something, so please do wait. Otherwise, you will be dropped and your time will be missed. And I'm sure you'll be crashing out in the comment section based on your own behavior, okay? Those are the rules here. Just wait. Enigma, do you want to continue, please?
Yes, and again, basically what I like to do is, again, use that logic against them because they like to talk about how, quote-unquote, Africans sold Africans to, again, try to justify their part in chattel. But again, when we talk about Africa, Africa is a continent. It's not a country. Yeah. So again, when you say Africa, you have to specify what tribes were going to war with each other. Because again, if we flip that logic, we can go to any other continent where other peoples of the same racial group but of different ethnic backgrounds went to war because of tribalism. It wasn't because of race. That would be very redundant and very backwards, right? So again, it's because they want to justify the chattel slavery that happened. Again, if we look at the Second Sino War, which happened during World War II, when the Japanese were going to mainland China and was trying to take over China, those people are of the same racial group. They're Asian, but they have different differentiativities. And what I mean by that is that they are of different nationality and different ethnic group. You can't compare those same. They are Asian, but they are culturally different from one another. You know what I'm saying? So again, you have to flip that logic on there. And then when we talk about what happened and during American chattel slavery, we have to talk about what happened afterwards, because again, when we talk about the Civil War and what happened after the Civil War, there were racially enacted laws that happened right after the Civil War, right after 1865. It was the Black Codes, which happened from 1866 to 1877. Then you had Jim Crow, which happened from 1877 all the way up until the late 60s. And then you had all the atrocities that happened in between then. You know what I'm saying? So again, there's a lot of history that these people try to skip over in order to justify chattel slavery. And again, they don't like holding themselves accountable for a system that their forefathers put in place for them to be privileged. You know what I'm saying? So I'll land my plane right there.
Right, Enigma, it's like if you actually have the cognitive ability and you have critical thinking skills, when you look at moments in history, you're able to see why things happen. The problem with white people or white Westerners is that they just see the front. They don't see the back, and they're refusing to see the back because of how atrocious it actually is. And again, it calls them to reflect upon their own behavior, which narcissists, as we've mentioned, are unable to do. But we're going to bring in Maze right now. Maze, how are you today? Maze 215?
Hey, what's going on? I'm good.
Oh, good.
All right, my man talking about. My man talking about the system, right? All right, hold on. I gotta talk about my man real quick, right? My man talking about the system.
Hold on. Don't hold me.
Right.
Hold on. This is the topic here, okay?
Hold on. I got
this is the topic.
I got the topic. I got the topic. Let me talk.
Wait, please. This is the topic here, okay? So what we're actually discussing is there is a march happening in the UK, okay? It's called Unite the Kingdom, which is basically a bunch of racists marching together, right? And this has been happening almost every weekend for so many years now. And my question is, why is white people so scared and racist? That's the question I'm asking here first to everybody. And then we talked about some other things to do with history, okay? So if you can answer the prompt first, and then you're free to converse with Enigma, okay?
All right. You said, why are white people so scared and racist? No, we're not racist. We're not scared either. Is that we want our own shit. Like, you guys want your own shit too. Okay? And
so what own shit?
We
what
want
shit don't you have?
non-Muslim. Hold on.
No,
we want non-Muslim.
Yo, stop interrupting him, you
I
racist
can't
nigger, host, racist nigger.
Maze, okay.
Shut the fuck up, you racist nigger. You're a racist nigger, host.
In England,
Let him fucking finish, you racist nigger. Let him fucking finish, you racist nigger. Let him fucking finish.
Goodbye, Clay. Maze. The question I'm asking
Don't be like that. No, can I talk though? Can I talk?
What do you think, Maze?
I'm telling you what I think. You won't let me talk.
Let me finish the sentence. What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with these people? You said, okay, that you don't have things. What don't you have, Maze? What don't you have?
What don't I have? I have everything I want because I work for it.
Which is
nothing been given to me. I have no white privilege card. I'm still waiting on the mail for my white privilege card.
But see, the thing about it is when we talk about white privilege, hold on.
I don't have the patience for you guys anymore. I don't have the patience. I've said explicitly
your black privilege card ran out, bro.
Is. Maze, I'm trying to have a back and forth conversation with you. You don't have the intelligence to understand. You said, Maze, we want our stuff back. And I ask you a simple question. What is it that you want? And you want a white privilege card. You're talking about assets and things. And you said you want to work for something. But you're not able to actually engage in the conversation I'm having with you. This is the prompt. This is the conversation. You are devoid of brain cells, boy. What exactly are you fighting for? You don't know what you're fighting for. You don't know what you're fighting for. You come up here spouting some nonsense, some bullshit. You lot don't have common sense. 3 of you I've had to drop so far. Why are white people so scared and racist? I've had many other prompts that talks about how uneducated you are. Many other prompts. And so many of you can't control yourselves. I've said explicitly what the topic is. I said exactly what the rules are. You guys are the most disrespectful, most scared, and most racist people on the panel. Already proving it with your white brother up here dropping N-words at me. You proved the point. Every single time we see you for who you are. Right, Malik. We've got Malik next. Malik, how are you?
Morning, folks. How are you? You okay?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as always. What do you like to add, Malik?
Yes, I just want to say we got a prime example. Two gentlemen just came up, and one of them dropping the N word, and the other one's talking about privilege, but yet they don't know how to speak to a woman, right? You got a woman sitting here talking to you, trying to explain to you how she runs a panel, and yet, like the last time when the bunch of hooligans got drunk and asked women to show their private parts, exactly the same thing's going to happen today. If you want to unite the kingdom, then talk about the single parents, single mother, people who are struggling in real life, mothers who are can't even meet their end needs. Talk about poverty. Talk about these things. But yet you want to you want to pick up a pack of Stella with your St. George's flag, which is not even English, half Palestinian, half Turkish, and you're gonna stand there and unite what? Just talk about one specific religion and target minorities. Is that what we call unite the kingdom?
Yes.
That's not what unite the kingdom means.
Unfortunately, the Anglo-Saxons, of course, are the ones who are running this shit. It's that Anglo-Saxon tribe. All they're doing is uniting in racism and fear. That's all they're doing. And you see how it gets triggered, right, in these other white Americans, because that's still their lineage, right? It is in them. It is in the DNA that when they see the prompt like this, what happens? They feel like they need to attack me. You only attack out of fear if you feel like you're being attacked. That's out of fear. You're being defensive. You're being defensive. I
Exactly.
understand you. If you don't think that you're scared and racist, don't act scared and racist. Cognitive dissonance. Their behavior always shows exactly who they are and what they are. Enigma, you've got something that you want to add as well before I bring Malik back in for some next points.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that when white people talk about white privilege, they're trying to talk about it on a socioeconomic status scale. Like you have to have high socioeconomic status in order to have white privilege. But in my definition of white privilege, is regardless of your or at least in a American context. I don't know how Europe is, but at least in America, regardless of your socioeconomic status, religious affiliation, a sexual orientation, that you have a baseline protection and basic privileges over a minority group due to the fact because you're white. Again, when we look at the migration of white ethnics that we call like Irish,
Your signal is disappearing. Is it? You're cutting out. Enigma, you're cutting out. I don't know if you can hear me. Enigma, 1 minute.
You said I'm cutting off?
Yeah, you were cutting out a bit. Can everybody hear me okay? Is it me or is it Enigma? Can you guys let me know? For some reason in Enigma, you were just like, Is it me? I'm okay. Enigma, I think there's a problem with your microphone. Do you want to try again?
It was a little bit like interference, and then it just got better. Yeah.
Okay. Enigma, are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, continue.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah. And basically, what I was saying is that you had a lot of ethnic whites that were coming here during the 1800s, and basically the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, the British colonialists of America that didn't consider them white at one point, they practiced an anti-black practices. Like a lot of the Irish were overseers of the plantations or slave patrol to try to distance themselves from black people because they were used as indentured servitude, as indentured servants, but because of their skin color, they had a little bit more oomph and push in society due to the fact that they were still white, unlike the black enslaved people or even freedmen that were in America. So when we look at history, we see how a lot of these white ethnics basically distance themselves from black Americans to get to the status quo of whiteness. You know, so and it's a book called The Wages of Whiteness that actually talks about how a lot of these ethnic whites that came over there started to slowly to assimilate into the status quo of whiteness and abandon their culture to gain that status quo and to assimilate to the greater status quo of whiteness. And I like my plane right there.
Thank you, Enigma. Okay, Malik, would you like to continue? Are there any more points that you would like to add, Malik?
Look, Vox. The problem is they say why should we, say sorry for our ancestors? But it's you making exactly the same mistake what your ancestors did when it comes to our BLK community, when it comes to our brown community, your ancestors treated us like we are a piece of garbage. And you're doing exactly the same. The example is always on the panels. When they can't see a woman holding alive, when a woman can't, they just, the ego and they arrogance come in front of it. And yet they call themselves the civilized people. Is this a civilization? Is this how you treat women? This is how you speak to a woman? She is literally more educated than you are, sitting there showing her face and talking to you, but yet you can't put your ego away and speak to her. And you're going to allow the foreigners come in London and ask them to protect you for what?
That's always, it's always a funny thing
That's
to me, like in terms of intelligence level and speaking English, is that they're always asking us to do things that they're unable to do themselves. This is why I say that they literally do no self-reflection. It is honestly bizarre. And actually, I had somebody yesterday come on the panel. And what was the question I asked him? I think it was along the similar lines, right? There was a white guy who came up. I think he was probably American as well, European American. And I asked the same question, like, what makes you so afraid? He's American and supporting Restore, right? Not even MAGA, not even Reform, Restore, okay? So you guys need to understand how far this shit is spreading, right? This infection is spreading. So he says he's Restore, and I said, okay, again, the same question. What makes us so scary as people? And he was like, well, there's many blah, 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 blah. And then he said, to quote Napoleon. I said, no, don't quote another man. Oh, no, the topic I had was reformers are bottoms, right? Because a lot of these men are idolizing other men, and a lot of them are closeted. They're literally getting shafted by the patriarchy, all this shit. You know, they're idolizing all these men. And I talked about the 400 years of male suppression. Like, I talked about all of that stuff anyway, because you know me, I'm a history girl. So I asked him a question. He said, Napoleon. I said, no. Don't quote another man. You tell me, you, in your own words, not another man's words, your words. Oh, no. You have to let me answer the question. You're not answering the question. You're talking at me, because all of these people always come with the same shit all of the time, the same script, the same words, no new thoughts, no new feelings, nothing. These are programmed robots. They're not human beings like the rest of us. This is the problem. They're not able to stretch their mind and to stretch their thinking and to come onto the sides of understanding. They're not able to do that. And again, if they hate black and brown people so much, they always seem to be hanging around us like flies. That's them. Without them, without us, they are nothing. Because we know for a fact, in history, it has shown it. When there are no black and brown people around, they turn on themselves. 500 million people dragged to their unalivement because of white Europeans. 500 million, and they still want to say that black and brown people are a problem. Get out of here with that shit. Thank you, Malik. Please still stick around. We've got SF Man now on the panel. SF Man, how are you today?
I'm fine, host. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. I remember what you said yesterday about homosexuals, by the way. I remember everybody. I remember everyone.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Continue.
I think it's a bit. It's very deep. It's a lot to unpack. I myself, being born and raised in London, I'm not indigenously from this land. And when we grow up, we always, like, when you're young, you just see YT. Can I say YT, or can I actually say I don't know what I can say in TikTok foreign language.
Yeah, I never censor myself on this app, so you shouldn't either. Nobody else should.
Yeah, so when we're growing up, like, we just see all white people as the same, and then as you get older, you start to realize that, oh no, like, they're actually not all the same. Like, they're different. There are different white people, and there's another misconception that white people have no culture and no history. They most certainly do, but I think that it's deliberately hidden. So when you actually start to read a history book, it's actually quite horrifying. Like, it's quite shocking when you look at, the Germanic roots of Europe and what the Anglo-Saxons came over and did to, these people that are up there in this part of the UK that speak a different language. I never, you hear Scottish people and you think it's a bit funny, but then you come to realize why they have an accent. They actually have a whole other language. They're not the same as English people. These are like different people. So I kind of have a bit of a different opinion, like from history,
Yeah.
about white people. I think it's a bit sad, to be honest, when you really do dig deep. Like you know, they mock like African people, for example. They call them,
We know
you
the
know,
words. You don't need to
barbaric.
say the words. You don't need to say the words.
What
We know
word?
what they
Black
say.
people.
I don't I don't understand. To be honest, you see my face, I'm kind of confused because I'm not quite sure what points you're getting at. You said that in the beginning.
Yeah, so the point that I'm trying to make is that
1 minute, SF man. I'm going to paraphrase what you've said. You said in the beginning, you thought that all white people were the same, and I thought, well, what does that mean in your mind? All white people are the same, and then you said, no, actually. Then I started to go into history and understand they're quite different. They've got different languages and things like that. Okay. But the fact is, I don't think you're also understanding about whiteness as the construct of what we're actually discussing, and that it's a big problem that this whiteness has actually been spread, not just in the UK, across the world. Like whiteness as a
yes,
construct is being spread, right? Which in terms of
yes.
the colonization, is the racism, is the fear, is the narcissism, is the jealousy, is the lying, it's the gaslighting, it's the manipulation. So I'm not quite sure like where you are in your thoughts and feelings.
Yes, I'm just going to try and land the point because, like I said, I have a bit of a nuanced opinion because I do like history. I mean, I'm Palestinian, so I know a lot. Obviously, I know a lot about colonization. But what I was trying to get at is that you know, when you do read history, I do like history. You know, YT people have always like mocked, you know, Africans for being backwards and barbaric. You know, these nude people, they're backwards, but
disconnected you. I don't know what you're getting at. You're still going back to talking shit about Africa. Like, don't think you're slick. I don't understand. Yeah, exactly. What is your point? I feel like you're coming up here just to actually be rude about black people, be rude about African people. You're not smarter than me. You're not smarter than me. You can't be doing this like passive aggressive stuff and saying stuff about white people, which seemed like you were actually being pro-white, and then trying to say some stuff about African. You're not exactly, he's not making any point. I told you, you're not smart around these points. You have to go to somewhere else and make your points because it's not going to be landing here. You're a joke, actually, SF man. You're not smart enough to be here, unfortunately. You think you're making some points. You're not making any points. Right, we're going to go to Chioma next, please. Chioma, how are you today?
I am wonderful, and I love how you're narrating. You're making sure you block the nonsense.
Thank you.
I just want to share everybody that is in England. I'm sure we know about those dynasties. Yeah. And we know about in Russia, Greenwood, Russia, the Caucasus Mountains, right? And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying it to be real. If we don't address these inbreeders and stop calling them white, they inbred it to become white. There were no white people through the Homo sapiens. It wasn't created like the Africans were and migrated to other countries. This is the problem. But they had to write themselves in by rewriting the language, changing the language so they could be inside the history. So when those Neanderthals came out of Greenwood, Russia mountains, they I want to say snaked the African farmers that was in Europe and wind up wanting to procreate with each other to get the lighter skin, to have power over Africa. Let's talk about that part. Let's talk about the real DNA. Let's talk about where they come from, why the inbreeding has them delusional, disease infected, disordered, and demonized. Let's talk about that. Because if you don't, and I don't give a crap what kind of guilt trip you on, you're here now. So that design that you put for a system to conquer all Africans, dismantle their countries, from the Berlin Conference, only white people at the table, give them King Leopold, I don't even put the king on it, Leopold II, words in that construction of Christianity to keep everybody docile to our Eva, from what you stole from Africa. So everything that you did, you are being civilized by blacks and Africans, from your clothes design to your culture to your food, all of it. The only thing you probably got is hot dogs because it's ground up from all kind of bullshit, like how respectful you are done. So it's kind of fitting. It's kind of fitting what your production is. Whenever you produce something, mashed potatoes and hot dogs, we'll give you. You can have it because it's not naturally done. We understand.
Yes. Thank you so much. So do you have any thoughts about their fear and their racism, like where it actually comes from? Why do you think
They inbred it to conquer Africa. To conquer Africa. Their DNA goes back to 92 CE.
But in terms of the question, right?
That
In terms of the question, Chioma, we sense a lot of fear from them in their behavior, right? Like we sense this and this racism. Like, why do you think that these people are so scared and so racist?
Because it's in their DNA, sis. If you have we know as women, right? When you have a baby, right? It's out of love, yeah. You love the man. The concept is to love and cherish and honor, and it's a gift from the Creator. I'm blessed to have a baby, yeah. When they created, it was different. Father and daughter, right? Mother and son. Greece was the worst. The sons unalive the mother, the father, to keep the mother. Now, everybody know what I'm talking about, a white descendant. You can play these games, but I'm a researcher about live.
Thank you so much, Chioma.
You don't want me to
Enigma wants to follow up on some comments that
Yes,
you made.
ma'am.
Yeah, Enigma.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and basically the reason why they're scared is because it comes from a place of inferiority. We have to understand that they know that we're the most genetically and physically dominant group of people on the planet. That's why they propagated and began eugenics. They tried to eradicate black people in America through eugenics and through like Planned Parenthood. So on and so forth. It's the inferiority of being a white person, especially being around black people. I mean, you come to America. What is the dominant culture of America? It is black culture. From anything from the way how they talk, from the way how they dress, everything. Because again, if like the question that we have to ask is, if black people, or in this context, black Americans were so inferior to white people, why do white people follow everything that black people do on a cultural sense, right? Why do you guys try to talk AAVE, Ebonics? Why you guys try to dress like us? Why you guys try to tan, get bigger, the women?
We have multicultural English as well in the UK, and they always try to say,
exactly.
we talk white, so they would say things to me like, you talk white. I'm like, bitch, I'm colonized. You want to blame me for what your people actually forced upon me and the rest of the world, right? Like, and the fact of the matter is, like you say, and like Chioma has said, is that we have a direct line to the original human beings. Everything came from us. But then they didn't come for us. They were something else. They were something else. We cannot claim anything. Like all of this shit was saying, well, we all come from Africa. You lot didn't. Mm-hmm. We ain't gonna tie any of that shit, because now they're obviously using it as a weapon, right? Well, we're all African at the end of the day, so that means we can all do that. Bitch, you ain't smart, you ain't clever, you can't be doing that shit, because before you were trying to deny that you even came from there. So now you want to come from there because you want to use this, like that guy when he said, I want my white privilege card. I want to be able to use my white privilege card whilst actually saying that I'm from Africa. Get out of here with that shit. Thank you, Enigma. Right, we're going to go to Bollywood next. And wait there, because I'll come back to you again, Enigma, if you've got some more points.
All right, most definitely.
Thank you. Bollywood, how are you today?
Good morning. On my way to work. And
are you not on your way to the protest?
And you know what?
You're not on your way to the protest?
Excuse me. Excuse me, darling. I'm gonna be having bottoms up later anyway, though, in the pub. So yeah, coming back. You know what? The sad part is, first of all, they should introduce a whole essay or a lesson in the history lesson, the atrocities they did during colonization, because I think that's the main thing, which is actually trying to prevent their thinking, like, you know, because they're not thinking it the right way. They don't know the history. They need to be taught that what they have done. The only thing. Second of all, even during the colonization, as I mentioned on that day as well, we were brought here by your choice. You brought us down here. Because what you did back in Asia and Africa. You brought us down here. This is the sad part. And you know what? The funny part is, when you tell them the reality, the way they retaliate, the way they, oh, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, and coming back to what Enigma said, yeah, the reproductive rate is going down because they can't reproduce. As us, as Asians and black people, no, they can't. That's what it is. And you know what? I'm glad that I'm part of this panel, and if they want some more education, I will give them education. So especially when they were giving us life imprisonments, they were sending us to Australia, they were sending us to West Indies. I remember the leader of the Sikh regiment was sent to Canada in 1898, back in the days, because they were sending us people for their own benefits.
Yep.
This is the thing. People need to read the history. And talking about Industrial Revolution, everything in the UK, all the raw materials, you bought it from Africa and India, darling. Simple as that. You would be nothing without the raw materials. You would be nothing. Jute, cotton, gold, everything. Every single thing. And now what's happening to them? And the problem is because and stat-wise as well, because I was like really surprised with that guy who starts like, oh, like how many people are on benefits and all that stuff. And I was like, this is the problem, education. They don't even go to schools. They don't go to unis and all that stuff. So please open your mind and, it's too much, darling. You know what I mean? I'll explain this again.
I know, but when we're talking about DNA, as Karen has brought up and as Enigma quote, and as we know, is that as part of a DNA programming, asking these people to open their mind is literally like asking them to become a completely different person. Like truly, they have to erase and delete everything about themselves to become something else. And when you are so brainwashed and so manipulated over centuries, that is not an easy thing to do.
Yep.
Exactly, Johnny, it is possible. But I think, again, it comes down to your history of what's happened to before in your bloodline. So, for example, if you were a victim of the Industrial Revolution, right, you know suffering, you understand it, and you don't want to go through that shit again. Whereas these people probably do come from the lines of the 1%, or they came from the people that were the literal foot soldiers of the 1%, right? So it's going to be a lot harder for them to understand. Because I get so perturbed. Yesterday, I sat on someone's live, only for about 5 minutes. You guys see me on TikTok, if you see me around, I'm only generally posting like 5 minutes and I'm gone because it's bullshit out there. And if you see me on a panel, it's because I really enjoy it. And I can stay sometimes for about an hour or so. But generally, that doesn't happen a lot. Probably in the last year, I've probably been on 3 panels that I've been on for quite some time. Only 3, because they're all crap. Anyway, when you see now these 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds on this app, doing the same shit. We were the British Empire. We freed slaves. We did the Industrial Revolution. Like the same crap that they've been told. And you tell them specifically to their faces, please stop repeating propaganda. There are people here who are twice your age who know stuff that you can listen from. But again, like you said, Bollywood, the ego is so fixed and it is so stuck.
It's not gonna go. And this is the thing, when you tell them, they're not gonna listen. They get so triggered. And before I end here, I just want to say one thing here. What's the national dish? Chicken tikka masala. That tells a lot, darling. Even immigration was required to survive for the national dish. Yeah. So don't you start. And you know. And as I said, most of the people, those are going to the marches. As I said, pack of Stella, pack of Red Stripes in a blue bag, prams with, filled up with all those drinks. They're gonna have this samosas. They're gonna have jollof rice. Everything from the stalls, which is gonna be lunch. And what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Unite the kingdom.
They're united
Seriously?
over the curry and the Stella and the flag. That's literally all they're united at, because that's what they look forward to at the end of the day. That's all they're seeing this now, as we know, as a day out. It's a day out with the kids, because they're bringing their kids and they're actually indoctrinating their children at the same time, doing that amazing work for the 1% and keeping that shit going. But someone in the comment section, M, has said the Industrial Revolution is propaganda. Yes, it is. If you actually start to read the history of the Industrial Revolution, when the enslaved Africans were actually uprising and doing revolutions and fighting back, the British realized that they could not win this fight. They also were losing money. It was no longer profitable. So what they did is they actually started to take everything that they stole throughout the world. So they already stolen the fabric industry from Asia, from India. They already had stolen all these people, and they managed to basically make people become workers, right? And so at that same time, what they decided to do was to enslave British people simultaneously. People were so poor. You have to understand how poor people were in Britain. They were poor, and this is where the term, this is Beth, you reminded me, dirt poor comes from, right? So it's people who were actually too poor that had to contract their own children into slavery. Children as young as 4 and were contracted to the ages of 21 were working for the 1%. I bring up this tragic story every single time. The children, right? So under 20 was 50% of the workforce. 50%, right? And then what happened is that for example, so the cotton that was picked by the enslaved Africans, the way it was shipped to the UK was then put in these mills. These little kids had to then pick up all of the cotton that was fallen on the floor. They sent kids into those machines. They had their limbs decapitated, like themselves decapitated, limbs cut off, maimed. It was horrific what was happening to these children. And a lot of these kids were actually orphans as well. And so they went into just unmarked graves, just dumped them at the back of these factories. And the ones who were orphaned then actually got sold into workhouses, and the workhouses sold these kids back to factories. This was slavery. They tried to call it child labor. It was slavery. It was child slavery. And adults as well also had to do it, because again, cost of living, taxes were so high as well for people, because the 1% were so greedy. They were so greedy. So again, everything, please, Bollywood.
Fox,
People can't
I'm just...
hear you. 1 minute, Bollywood. Please put your hand in the chat, because Chioma also wants to speak as well. But when you unmute, guys, on the panel, it's because people can't hear what I'm also saying, and we can't hear each other, because you've got a lot of background noise as well today, Bollywood. I'll bring you in. Thank you, Bollywood. No problem. So that's exactly what was happening. So when people start to glorify the Industrial Revolution, please remind them it was not glorious. It was the industry of Britain, and how it became rich as the 5th richest country was built on the back of enslaved people and the kids of Britain. Don't ever forget about the kids of Britain, because it's horrific. Chioma's got something she wants to add. Enigma also has something, and then Bollywood. But we'll bring in Chioma first. Chioma.
Okay. Those kids were half mixed. Those were the Schmake kids that they brung in. They did not care, because they were mixed with black Africans that was Schmaked. So a lot of them were mixed. That's number one. And when they cry about empire hosts, no, there was no empire. Those was dynasties that was defecating in the streets of Europe. They did not wash. They did not do anything. They were nasty. And when you think about that, you got to go back to the very first dynasty and then go backwards and see how many white teeth you're going to find. You're not going to find them. They created themselves.
Thank you, Chioma. Okay, Enigma, you got some points you want to add?
Yeah, because the same thing kind of happened. Well, it wasn't during the Industrial Revolution. I got to look more in that on the American side, but I know during chattel slavery that a lot of white people, they try to justify, again, chattel slavery by bringing up the fact that black people had, there were some black people, less than like 3% of the entire population in America, that had slaves, but a lot of that was due to the fact that a lot of the black men who ran up north to escape the South bought a lot of family members to soften the effects of slavery. But since they purchased their family members as slaves, they were considered a slave owner. So that's a part of history that they never talk about. And also they never talk about how after the Civil War, how when there was less than 1% of black people in the South that actually was involved with chattel slavery, how during the 1865 Restoration Act, how the federal government literally took that wealth away from those black people and gave it to the white Confederate soldiers and Confederate generals and ex-slave plantation owners, white people. You know what I'm saying? So black people didn't even benefit from the quote-unquote slavery that we participated in, and it was all given back to white people. So, you know, that's another thing. I just want to land my plane right there.
Thank you, Enigma. Thank you. Bollywood, you did drop down. I see you're still here. If you want to come up and actually say something, I have invited you back up. But we're going to go to Anti-Racist Mum now. Anti-Racist Mum is here. So it's interesting that you mentioned Jane Elliott earlier, Enigma as well, because Anti-Racist Mum, I call her our equivalent in the UK because honestly, she does so much work in terms of understanding British history, white history. She has done so much unpacking. She's teaching people. She has books. She has labs, like classes. And it's all about white people's internalized racism, and she's helping them deal with that shit as well. So Anti-Racist Mum, please speak.
Hi, thank you for having me on your panel and such a lovely intro. I learnt so much from Jane Elliott, and I apologise if it's windy. I'm having to walk around the block to hear this live, and I need to keep moving because I live in an area run by a cult, and I don't want to get, particularly whilst I speak, don't want to get beat up by those builders that I just walked past. Whiteness doesn't have an identity. Whiteness is erasure. It's not a nationality. It's not an ethnicity. And we are programmed to live in a scared, racist, deficit mindset, being jealous of everybody who does have culture, who does have traditions, who is able to connect to their intuition and able to almost self-actualize and be valuable members of the community, not in terms of a monetary, what you can do for capitalism, what capitalism can extract from you, where you can have that sense of, energetic contribution. So many people with my complexion are incapable of seeing their value beyond how capitalism can benefit from them. And this is because of this erasure of our actual identities, because of we have nothing. And people I often get into arguments with people in my extended family about this who are like, well, we came from London, that's how after the Second World War. Yeah, but what about further back than that? How do we go back? What's our actual history? Well, you don't need to know that, we're British. Well, actually, I do need to know that. I want to know before empire what, and I'm working with some people on trying to unlearn more of my own history to understand, pre-empire, pre the Enclosures Act, pre bloody stupid fake Christianity coming to this country, because it's not even real Christianity that these fake Christians and fake patriots are parroting anyway. It's all a load of nonsense. It's all control mechanisms. And the education system, by design, has intentionally ensured that we have a bunch of thick cunts running around the street. And it's only going to get worse if the cult get in and become a national, takeover, because the cult want a patriotic curriculum, because they're so pathetic and fragile that they cannot handle the emotional discomfort that comes from reflecting on the real impact of empire on the world.
The first thing that they said when it started to go on places like GB News was, oh, you're making people, especially young boys can't handle the truth of history. They're too fragile. We need to protect them. That to me was the most nonsense thing. I think that there's many nonsense things. Honestly, the list is too long. I need to stop saying that because I keep saying the one thing and actually there's 1,000 things a million things, actually. Let me correct myself even on that. But when we start talking truthfully about history, when white people start talking truthfully about history, it is the most fragile of the white people that can't see that history is problematic and don't want to address it being problematic because they still want to stay in their programming. And again, like, I cannot believe that these establishments were saying we can't teach the truth of history because it makes these young kids feel scared. But they weren't there. Why can't you not understand that you weren't there? You weren't there for this stuff. Why are you getting so upset if you weren't there? Accept the good stuff, which you find it easy to do. You have to accept the bad. Which part are you there for? You're there or you're not there? Like, which one? Ridiculous. Anti-racist mum, got some more points?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, they're so pathetic and they're so fragile that my IG account had got up to, like, I think it's 41k followers, but last week I ended up being doxxed on X, and they're so triggered by a person with my complexion speaking the truth to power that they've, like, doxed me all over X and then mass reported both my IG and the Facebook account that it's linked to. So I now have restrictions for spreading misinformation and hate speech and being threatening on the internet, even though there's nothing threatening about it literally only threatens their emotions, their emotional their lack of their emotional constipation, like the fact that they can't regulate their nervous systems. And it's just like, so I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to stop, but I think it just proves my point that we're just so pathetic as a demographic. We have no ability to regulate our emotions, to reflect, to empathize, and to dream. And these are actual innate human qualities. So, like, we're not, those that are absorbed into whiteness, we're not actually fully functioning humans if we can't dream, we can't empathize, and we can't reflect on our impact. Like, we are like the factory rejects that need to be chucked in the bin, really.
Really? Thank you, Anti-Racist Mum. Chioma's got some questions for you. I think I can see her asking you some things in the comment section. Are you guys okay to have a Yeah.
Okay, I like what you said, but I can only believe you if you're going to walk back into your real DNA. I can only believe it, right? I understand people want to have that connection to Africans and blacks and want to be as honest as they can. I can get you're doing that part. But what I don't understand, if you know about empires, there were no empires before there were dynasties. It was dynasties first. And I don't hear any white people talking about that no more because of how they inbred, how they created their dynasties, which created white people. When you go back to the root of anything and you can pull that, you know where it came from. So I'm wondering why I don't hear anybody bringing up dynasties anymore.
Anti-racist mum, I wonder if she's got some opinions on that. But for me, growing up in Britain, we don't even use the word dynasty. Like, it's not really in the vocabulary. It's not something that I know. I've heard of, like, Chinese dynasties, right? And the TV show Dynasty, but nothing to do with that. Yeah,
you know of the Habsburg dynasty, right? With monarchy, the lockjaws.
So in the comments section, you see that peasant number 1 and 2 says because we use monarchy. Yeah, that could be why.
Yeah, because if you find out about those dynasties, you'll know how white people got here, because that was the beginning. And what they did. Yeah, what they did was horrible. It was horrible. And then to keep doing it, King Leopold married his cousin. So basically, every last one of non-melanated are relatives.
Yeah. Anti-racist mum, have you got some comments? Any observations on that?
Well, they did a scientific...
Charlie, please don't interrupt. I will come to you, Charlie. See, everybody else is muted on the panel because we go one at a time here. Okay.
Yeah, this is what I've been. So I've recently got in contact with someone who's going to help me with, like, I think it's called genealogy, like going further back, and I find this a lot with people in families that are like my complexion. Like, we don't know. There's like an erasure of even extended family history. It only goes back a couple of generations. Nobody, or like, either they're not willing to talk about it or that information hasn't been passed down. So I've recently, at the end of last week, somebody put me, I'm pretty sure they're called a genealogist. I just need time to set up a meeting with them to work out how to trace this stuff back and to learn more. Like, it's a constant unlearning journey, and I will look into
you have the internet. Go and look up the dynasties, the first dynasties, and you'll see. And you are stronger than you think. I kind of, want to believe you than any whites I ever heard, because at least you're trying to look it up. You understand?
Honestly, she does a lot of work, and I do hope that a lot of anti-racist mums content does make it to the US. I don't know if it has so far, but generally in the UK, we're quite aware of her on social media, and she's actually one of my moderators as well, Chioma. And for everybody else who's here, I've said it in the comment section, please do follow her. She's doing the work every day. In fact, I mean, also her personal job, like she said about her personal life being affected by this, her own personal job as well was also, she's doing the work, believe me. And I don't advocate for anybody on this app, you guys know, but Anti-Racist Mum is somebody who I will always say that please do follow and please do check out what she's talking about. Thank you so much, Rob. We've got Parliament next, please. Parliament, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, all.
Hi. So this is the topic, generally what we're talking about. Of course, we've got some spin-off conversations today. If you guys know or don't know, it is another Unite the Kingdom protest. There are also similar protests going on, Palestinian protests, Congo, Sudan, etc. Human rights, fighting for all that kind of stuff. But the main one, it seems to be, is the topic of conversation, is another Unite the Kingdom march run by Tommy Robinson and all of his goons and all these scared racist people. So, Parliament, why do you think that white people are so scared and racist? Why?
Oh, exactly. That's what makes me pop in straight away, because I've got my answer, because I was seeing quite mainly a lot of people gave the answer. But I wanted to say the reason why they're scared of black people, because they know who black people are. They study black people's body. They do till today. They're studying black women's body. Yes. Scientifically, they are studying our body secretly somewhere, and they're not going to tell you that in public on the BBC or whatsoever. You're not going to know it, but they do study our body, and they know how powerful we are. They know why melanin is very important. And the thing is, I always suggested black people to go through the science. They can also do their own research about our own skin color, because most of things that have been secretly hiding in our ancestors' language, because it says about our skin color anyway, how important it is. We need to be discover who we are for real. Because I've been researching as well. I learned to know, because most of the researches that have been done by European people, because if you see the way they set up the research system, it tends to be rejected whatever black people say, because black African people, I mean, our ancestors have different system of education. They have the historical one, they have the verbal one, they have the ones that they write down, they have the ones that secretly been hiding. Do you know what I mean? Because they don't want to disconnect the codes. But also, these researchers, as a student, when you're a black person, you study in white system, you tend to reject the fact that these African people have their own cosmologic way of study. They have their own cosmologic way of seeing things. So again, it makes me learn and differentiate both system. Where I see white people's system, education system here in England, is kind of more like supremacy, and it's individualism. It's based in individualism, and that makes white people reject any other people's cosmological way of living. or even though if that cosmological way of living is very important for the whole world, they still reject it. As I was saying,
on the note in the beginning, you were saying about studying Black people, because I've seen a lot of content about that recently, and I wanted to Google a little bit more. So it says there's a chip containing millions of genetic variations that are common in Africa that could help scientists bring benefits of precision medicine. Right, so we know that they've already been studying us. They're already harvesting so many things about us. Carbon is the most strongest element, which obviously we come from, right?
Protons, and melanin as well. The 6 protons and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, as I said to you,
this is why I think people need to be more aware and more willing. Like, I can talk about me personally. I've not been able to see what's going on in Congo and Sudan from my own lineage of trauma. I've not been able to do it. I can look at Palestine, I can cry, I can have empathy. I've spoken about Palestine. I have not been able to speak about Congo and Sudan. I know what's going on there, but I literally can't do it. I have this, like I said, this ancestral history and ancestral block that is stopping me. But also, this, of course, as we know, these mines are where they're actually harvesting all of the assets and material to make mobile phones, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is what's worrying, because again, we know it's kids down in those mines. We know that there was an actual G side going on at the same time. So the bodies that they're able to use and abuse in these ways are obviously going to be doing research as well at the same time. How can they keep capitalism going? Because they know that capitalism is in the end stage. This is late stage capitalism, guys. This is the end of the story now for the Europeans. This is why they're clinging on to racism. This is why they're clutching onto their flag more than ever. And this is why they can't stay out of our fucking countries, because they need us. They need us for their existence. Without us, they are nothing. So we need to keep advocating for our own people abroad. None of this diaspora bullshit that people keep feeding into. Diaspora, what? No, that's the white man's game. Stop with the N-word. Stop trying to go down the route of Christianity. Somebody else mentioned this earlier, right, about the white man's Bible that used to destroy us and will still cling to onto that shit. You need to stop that. Stop going to these spaces talking with right-wing people. They're the end of the line. Don't go down with them. I keep trying to tell my Black brothers and sisters who've also come here, stop spending time with the racists. Why are you doing that? We're supposed to be building ourselves up, building our nations, building our people. Stop playing their fucking games. Stop that shit.
Just to say that religion is one of the, because I also advocate for Black people and melanin. I do my researches and I do lessons like most of the days, sometimes twice in a week. But I do speak in my language because people from my country are also so naive in terms of religion. I do talk about religion because religion is one of the mainly thing that they use to dominate Black people, and especially to control our spirit. Because once somebody control your spirit, they can lead your mental body, emotional body, and then they will lead your physical body. And that's the main thing they attack. Because no wonder they said our ancestors' spirituality is they demonize it. But the thing is, Black people have a power that connected with nature. Our melanin is not just in our pigmentation. Our melanin is in our bones, is in our brain, is in our eyes and our tongue, our nose, is in everywhere, in our organs, everywhere. So we need to teach our children that this blackness that white people are attacking is so much important that you cannot manage it. Because at the end of the day, you need to realize, why did they enslave Black people? That's the first point that you need to ask. Because we receive them as a brothers. I mean, we open our doors. Our ancestors opened the doors for them. But the way they treated them is so, they're demonizing our ancestors. And they turn around, like, they're so psychopathic. They turn around and say, our ancestors is the demon. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Because our ancestors, structured the civilization. If you read history, our ancestors structured the civilization based on humans respect to humankind, and that's the main thing they have back in the days. Because they don't demonize people, they don't enslave people, they don't kill people. Just they control the system. They control the system on how violence is happening. They. I'm not saying there's not violence back in the days, but they did control it in terms of all community work together. That's the best way of Cosmo for people to live. They respect the nature, they respect humankind. And if you read the history of Black people, you will know there's no way Black people demonize or enslave anyone. Because at the end of the day, Black people are the first people that traveled to Europe. Moron people are the first people that came to Europe. And they uncivilized whiteys in Europe. And they were the first people that was governing European countries. So this is based in history, is the fact. And we have so much facts that tells us that Black people never actually mistreat anyone. At the end of the day, how can we be called, our spirituality be called demon? It doesn't make sense. And these all attacks that we have from whiteys, they need to realize the system they have is also toxic for them. Like capitalism is enslaving not just Black people, it's also enslaving whiteys. Because the factories that you're working on and the taxes that they're taking from you, the peanut they're giving it to you is just lies. At the end of the day, you're just like, you have a short way of living. Even capitalism now is controlling technology. The way they emphasize things for you to be addicted on smoking, alcohol, and all this, they control your mind. You need to learn how to control your own spirit, meditate, so you can stay away from this system, the toxic system that they created for you to live in on, because it doesn't make sense. I try my best to teach. If I have my child, I will teach my child here in the UK, not to be connected with this system because it's toxic. Even the schooling system is toxic. It does not connect a child with nature. Take your children outside the school on the days off of school. Take them out. Teach them what is the nature, what's the real world, so they can see how important humankind is connected to universe. Because they lie to us about in the religion that we come from.
That point you've just made there about the children, about the education system. Like we've talked about this quite a lot, right, on this platform, about how growing up in Britain and growing up in the brainwashing, I'm 42 now, and only in the last 2 years have I actually started to unlearn and actually go back to real history and understand. Self-education is so important in the UK. And if you have children and if you're on these apps, you're supposed to be teaching your children more than 2 + 2 = 4. Like really, you need to do a lot more. Yes, I'm 42, Diego, I'm 42. Like you really have to do the work now. It is so important. Everybody takes accountability for themselves and the things that they know and the things that they can learn. Stop saying, well, I didn't learn that at school. That's an excuse. That's an excuse. Stop it. Stop that shit. It is so important that you really understand what you can do and start using your self-autonomy. The gift you were given was the gift of self. Stop blaming others for the things that you don't know. You literally have the internet. We all have the internet here. Google. Just Google shit. That's all you need to do. And actually, funny thing is, a few weeks ago, we talked about people not even being able to Google. Some people didn't know how to Google. But if you come into these spaces, learn, especially my space is not a debate space. We're learning here, we're growing here, we're having conversation. Not everything needs to be an argument. And it's only when white people come in the conversation do they start kicking and screaming and shouting because they're scared and racist. That's all they have. Thank you so much, Parliament. Please do stick around. If you've got any more comments to make, please put your hand up in the chat and I'll come back to you. We've got a lot of people.
Thank you, folks. Just a quick one. Just to say, thank you so much for allowing me to come up. Just a quick one. I would say capitalism, they structure the system. I know it's so difficult for the families to catch up with the children at home because the time of you working, they extended the hours. The hours go is more like 12 hours. By the time that you finish work, you go home, it's not even good enough for you to sit down with your family and have a conversation. They also structure that time. But find ways on holidays, I mean, when you have a holidays, fix the date that kids have on holidays and take your holidays. Take your kids out. Go to the bushes. I mean, the hiking. Go for a seaside, anywhere. Allow children to be free so they can learn how the nature is and how they're really connected with nature. Let them learn free out of those sticking four walls. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, my sister.
Thank you, sister.
Carry on. I'm also doing my work on the other side.
Thank
Bye.
you so much,
Kiss,
lovely.
kiss, kiss.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we've got your Infinite One here on the panel. Hello, how are you doing? Your Infinite One, hello, on the panel. I'm going to send you a... Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Oh, thank you for putting this together, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to share and educate each other. And the majority of the original peoples were communities. We helped each other. It wasn't hard. If you haven't got salt, I've got some salt. I can give you salt. And I think when they built, for example, estates, they realized that people could help each other. I think what happened was they put people in the estates that they had disenfranchised, black and white. So it meant that people were at each other's throats. And of course, while people are at each other's throats, they're not looking at who's pulling the strings. Just wanted to share that, you know, we need to come back to community. And a lot of us are mixed anyway.
On that note, Infinite One,
Yes.
from next week, I am actually going to start doing, and I've said this last week, for you guys who've been here, I've said that I'm going to start doing some more black spaces, specifically black spaces.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've even
Thank
created
you.
the banner for it already. It's called African Caribbean Black Diaspora. I've got rules in my space.
Thank you.
Rules in my space. No coons, no coconuts, no derogatory language, no excessive religious conversation. It's going to be about us, how we build, how we bring our community together. Because like I said earlier, I don't play white people's games. I don't play white people's games. This is literally about us, our conversation, how we build, how we grow, how we find ourselves again. Because there are too many of us that are lost. I mean, it's difficult, right? We live in the Western world. Most of the world around us is white. Not for me anymore, because I did leave. I've left Europe. I don't live there anymore. But when you're still stuck in that programming and you're stuck in the capitalism and you've got all this shit going on around you, it's kind of hard to find yourself and to remember who you are, because we know these algorithms as well are so sensitive, right? They can drag you off into all kinds of bullshit as soon as you interact with stuff, right? I want to try and bring us back. So thank you for bringing that up as well, Infinite One, because this is really important. Thank you. Right, we're going to go to...
Yes, and...
oh, yes, go ahead, sorry. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay, and I would like to say that I lived in an Indian family as an African woman. I lived in an Indian family and in a white Catholic family. And what was interesting was they have their own systems where they stick together, even if they disagree. And I'm just talking about the Indian family, for example. Even if somebody's not talking to somebody, if you have a particular skill that can help the family to go forward, of course, it's all within reason, to help the family to go forward, your skill is utilized. And it's not always about money, which is very capitalistic, of course. It's not always about money. You know the saying, I'm sure you know the African saying, or the Caribbean saying called one hand wash the other. One hand cannot wash itself. Again, I think we need to come back to this idea that we can do these things together without money, but with respect. It's very important that there's respect and appreciation. And we need to be reasonable in our thinking. And deconstructing is not our joke.
Truly,
It's
it's a
not.
full-time
I'm laughing,
job.
but it's not
It's
a
a
joke.
full-time job. It is something that I'm actively doing every single day. The universe already was harassing me for 2 years beforehand with thoughts in my head about it until I started to accept it and be like, shit, this is actually the journey I'm on. And again, like coming onto TikTok and being part of conversations, you're like, oh my God, there are so many people also going through the same thing. And so that's why, guys,
Yeah.
it is so important to remember where you feel heard, where you feel safe. You have to stay in
Yeah.
this space because, like I said, it's so easy to go off the path. That's as part of the journey, right? Is that you have these obstacles, these things that can trip you up. Yeah, it is very, very important to know that you're not alone in this stuff. You might think that
Yeah.
what you're thinking is wrong, especially as I've said, is that growing up in the white world, they make you think that your thoughts are wrong. We're right. We are right. We are part of the global majority. We literally have the knowledge. We have the keys to everything. It is about us. It is our time, which has happened before. Let's be clear. Humanity is 300,000 years old. The white people are only 8,000 years old, and they made a lot of shit with the story. Please, Kwanzaa, Ejuma, Black Mimi, good to see you. Collective work of responsibility. Yes, I do Kwanzaa. This will be my 3rd year this year for Kwanzaa. So
Wow.
yes, I'm definitely like I stopped celebrating Christmas and shit like that because I was like, hold on, this feels white. Anything that feels white, I'm like, that doesn't feel right in my soul. So Kwanzaa is something the funny thing is I celebrate it by myself. My family aren't quite there yet, but I say to them, when you're ready, you got the blackest daughter here at the moment with my colonized accent. I'm celebrating Kwanzaa. You want to come join me? Let's literally get back to our roots. So I do that. Thank you so much, Infinite One. Stick around. And then we're going to go now to Trovely, the original next. Trovely, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. I was brought up, I guess, because I said something in a comment. So on which part do you want me to
I invited
address?
everybody to come up onto the panel. The invitation went out to everybody. So is there something you actually wanted to add?
Yes, I heard the narratives, and I am deconstructing through genealogy, finding out about real history and finding out that we've been lied to as a people here on this continent. And, people are trying to interject themselves into our history through narratives. And that is erasure in itself. We know what happened on our soil. We know what happened on the whole earth. And so when we are doing research, it's not to put people in a negative outlook about themselves. It's just the truth, and we can't get anywhere without the truth. Okay, so that's the first thing. Anything in deconstructing narratives that you were taught is about the truth. Okay, so if people are offended at the truth, that tends to be their problem and not ours. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. In terms of your genealogy, do you mind discussing it? Are you okay asking me questions about it? I can share mine because I've done mine.
Okay.
Yeah. So mine,
So-
I'm like, oh, sorry. Yeah, you go first. You go first.
Okay. So, doing our genealogy, we found out that we're not Africans. We don't have anything against Africans. It's just that we're not the same people. And when
Okay,
I
I'm
look
gonna stop you there
further
for a minute.
into it,
I'm going to stop
we
you there for a
couldn't
minute.
close
1
it.
minute, Trovely, because you immediately said, I don't have anything against Africans. What's Africans got to do with the story? I'm not coming here to attack you about anything. You could have just said, my genealogy is from somewhere else. So
Ma'am.
already that's anti-blackness and anti-Africanness already in there. You didn't need to say that.
Ma'am,
You didn't need to say
ma'am,
that.
ma'am,
to
I'm
say
just telling the truth, ma'am.
No, but this is,
I'm
do you
just telling
understand
the
what I'm
truth.
saying? Do you understand what I'm
Because-
saying?
so- okay,
Nobody's
so
saying that
you're
you had to
telling
be
me
African.
that-
Okay, 1 minute. Understand the conversation here.
I
Nobody
didn't
is
say that,
saying,
ma'am.
listen to what I'm saying, please. Nobody is saying that you have to be African. A lot of us are very aware that black people are indigenous to all over the place, right? I'm not going to come and say that you're from Africa. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. So I just want you to understand, right, that this is already xenophobia. Thank you, Black Mimi. Xenophobia and anti-blackness is the power of language, right? So you don't need to say that, but you can just say, my ancestors or my ancestry is blah, 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 right? You can say that. It's okay for you to say that.
Okay, so when a Ghanaian comes to our country and say that our bones of our ancestors belong to them, that's a problem. When
Disconnected, you don't get it, you're not understanding, you're kind of person that's actually not going to be welcome in my African, Caribbean, Black diaspora space. Like why are you talking about Ghanaians? Why are you talking about other Africans? The subject here is white people are so scared. You're talking about your genealogy and your ancestry. Talk about that. I asked you to talk about you, not about Africans. Don't do that here. Try that somewhere else. Go in the FBA space. Right, we've got Charlie next, please. Charlie, how are you?
Hey, how you doing? I'm loving the space. I'm loving how you policing. I got like hella compliments. You know what I'm saying? All that. I guess the point that I wanted to make is I felt like when I was getting on this journey, one of the biggest thing was dealing with the xenophobia and the racism in my own family, right? Like there's a lot of anti-blackness in the Caribbean community, and I felt like that had to be like you have to address the issues at home first, and then you know what I'm saying, press outside of yourself. That's all I want to say. I'm done. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, we've got Diego next. Diego, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing, Fox? You good?
I'm good. You're always here, there, and everywhere, and we're like, "Where's Diego? Is he here?"
Yeah, I'm working on some things right now, but there should be some exciting news real soon. So I'm just materializing a couple things. You know what I'm trying to say, but very interesting topic. A very complex subject, to be honest with you. Just to kind of summarize it, I think what's happening now is we're at a transitional point in our society. If you look at, for example, the COINTELPRO manifesto, J. Edgar Hoover said that there would always come at a particular point in time a black or BLK messiah that would rise up and liberate the people. And I feel like there comes a point in each society where that messiah or those group of messiahs or empresses rise up and lead their people to liberation, and they're realizing that it's getting to that stage right now. So what they're doing is they're trying to kind of counteract that. I would definitely, as difficult and as challenging as it may sound, advocate for homeschooling people who have children. I would advise you to homeschool. The education system for a very long period of time has been a conveyor belt that leads the collective down a conveyor belt of breaking them in. The education system, the schools, the colleges, the universities are now the new plantations or a fragment of the plantations, because they created more sophisticated plantations than it was where we was picking cotton and harvesting sugarcane. They have now reconstructed the plantations, and the education system is one of those things. It leads us down this conveyor belt of thinking that we have to go to school, go to college, go to university, attain a degree, and then that all doing that benefits the same state that is, never going to give us a righteous or a rightful place to the empire or whatever you want to kind of construct it as. In regards to why white people are racist, I would say that white people are racist from a massive inferiority complex that they suffer with. This is why they have continuously perpetuated a negative image of BLK people, specifically as well BLK women. They have made BLK women feel like, they are not good enough. They have criticized their lips, their phenotype. But then we've now seen a transition in society where there are now these aesthetic places that have the same industry that replicates the same phenotype that they spent billions to criticize and to dehumanize. I think we also have to be very careful of who we allow in our spaces, because unfortunately when we talk about racism is measured through what is expressed. So the metric of racism is expression. So if people throw all the smoke screens about them having BLK friends, BLK pepper on their eggs, colored TV, BLK tires on their car, BLK Air Forces, BLK teeth, and a variety of other BLK things, what that does is it creates a smoke screen, and we think, oh, okay, well, this particular individual is not a threat, and this particular individual is not going to harm me. And they understand that, and they are very fully aware of that, and that is why they say these things, because they understand if they don't explicitly say these things, then there is no metric that could be used to measure racism. So we have to just be like, you know what, the good have to suffer for the bad right now, and we're going to lock everybody out. Unfortunately, we hear that you want to help, and we appreciate, you know, your kind words, but this is kind of a black issue, and in order for us to be completely free, the white collective would be at a detriment. And I believe that some YT people don't actually realize that. So when it got to the stage of it actually getting to a point where we were liberated and self-sufficient, they might change their minds on the basis of it being to their own detriment. So that's another point. Also, I feel like
that one point really quickly there, we obviously have to learn the lessons from what happened to the Black Panthers in America, right? We have to learn exactly what they did, which was, if you want to be an ally, you have to create your own factions and do your own things. Like I say, my spaces, when I say it's black, it's just black. It's just black. It's not like black and friends or black and allies. It's like, no. This is black. Black is black is black is black is black. And that's why I'm not going to be accepting people who are like, oh, I've got no connection to Africa. And like, you guys don't even want to call yourselves black, right? Even though that's the label that, of course, has been put on us. Black is what unifies us. Black is what unites us. So we need to think about the people who are actually willing to go along with that and to actually understand what blackness actually looks like and should look like, not what the other people have put upon us. It's like, thank you, Charlie. Yeah. I'm black, y'all. I'm black. You're blackity black. Yeah. Exactly. And again, like whoever's, you know, from the Africa, and actually I didn't mention this part as part of my my African Caribbean diaspora thing. I put 2 black parents. If you got 2 black parents, you're willing to accept that you actually have 2 black parents, you're black. This is what makes you black. This is the kind of black conversation I'm talking about. Because like we have, is that of course, and this is no shade, this is no, Robo says I'm half by 8 Calfa, okay? Is that I have a mixed race niece and nephew. I've talked about this many times. And I've said specifically how I am worried about how much blackness that they do know about. I'm very worried. We see on this app a lot of the time. And again, it is not their fault. It is not mixed race, mixed heritage people's fault. Is that if, and I see this happening in America, and it kind of annoys me, how they want them to pick a side. You can't pick a side. You can have the experience of a side, but you also can have the benefit of the other side. Right? You need to be able to understand all sides if you're mixed race. And the black conversation I have is that there should be no room for error. No trying to tell me the type of racism that you experience, saying that it's the same that I experience. It ain't the same. It's not the same. So we need to be on the same page when it comes to this kind of stuff if we're talking about the diaspora. Our issues and our experiences should unite us. If you're a black person with 2 black parents and you come here with coonery and coconuttery, no, you're not in the space. If you're going to do some work for white supremacy, no, you're not in the space. This is the kind of mindset we need to be talking about. And Diogo, and how Parliament said earlier, and how we've said earlier, is that even if you don't have children, so talking about educating the next generation, there are youngers on this app. This app is for over 13 years old. Okay, so remember your conversations, remember the things that you're saying. Remember that also people's parents also don't have the conversation with their kids. They're too afraid to have these conversations. So they're going to be looking to people like us to be the next level of education. The school system is never going to be overhauled in the UK. Those of you who know, there is a group called the Black Curriculum. They do amazing work around the UK within restriction. They are heavily monetized. And of course, they're going to be places where they're not allowed to go because the system is not ready for black education. Outside of Black History Month in October, they don't want it to be too black. They don't want it to be too brown. They don't want the education to be too melanated. Everything the way that the UK is runs just fine for the 1%. Anything outside of that is a challenge to their existence, right? And any way that they feel challenged, this is when they revert back to their fear and their racism, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. We're seeing it right now. Please do. Oh, no, Diego, no, you're going to go soon. Yeah. Have you got any more that you want to add, Diego?
Yeah, final point of hypocrisy. We also see that often the people who support these reform groups and these white smatsy groups that exist in the UK, there's a lot of them. If you go and research an individual called Benjamin Hanam, that's Benjamin Hanam, H-A-N-N-A-M. He was the first Metropolitan Police that was caught and found to be part of a SMATSI group. And this individual was part of this group, and this group's ideology, this was quite a while ago. I believe this was 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And basically...
2021, he was first to be convinced. Maybe
Yeah.
it goes back to
Did he join in 2016?
Yeah. Go on, go ahead.
Yeah, cool. So basically, this individual was part of the Metropolitan Police, and part of their ideology at this particular point in time was bearing in mind this was 2016, was they was preparing for a race war. Now, what we understand about the media outlets is the media outlets are a misrepresentation of what's going on in the world. Essentially, what the media is basically telling you what they think is important, or what they can now justify, or how they can justify their racism or their new laws or whatever bills they're going to draw, etc. Right? What acts they're going to put in place. What we've seen now is we've seen a transition between this particular point in time and what we're seeing now being perpetuated in the media, which is a dehumanization of immigrants. Now, when we look at the dehumanization of immigrants, the common Anglo-Saxon or Celtic person will say things like, you should go back to where you came from. And they will say these things to people who were even born in the UK. So that shows, by their own standard, that these individuals don't just have an issue with immigrants, but they also have an issue with the descendants of immigrants. But then when we go back in history and we assess the original inhabitants of the regions that we now refer to as the United Kingdom, we understand that these were not people of, semi-skinned milk complexion. So when we understand that, we see that their whole point in itself means that they have an issue with themselves, because if they have an issue with descendants of immigrants, they also have an issue with themselves, because they are the descendants of the Anglo-Saxons and the Celtics who also migrated to these regions. The original inhabitants of the United...
I always bring up the fact that they've rioted so many times against legal immigrants. In England alone, I think it's 24 race riots since 1919. These are to do with civilians and also to do with the police. So I'm glad that you brought up with the police as well. They've historically had a problem with black and brown people, and as we know, the police are just an extension of Smartsies. The reason why police were even created in the European world was to keep people like us in check. That's all they wanted to do, was to use us, control us, monitor us. That's all they're there for. So when you have black and brown people that join the police force, you have to understand, or at least speak to them and say, well, why are you doing that? Some of them, of course, want to be able to infiltrate from within. But then what happens every single time is they become part of the system. You see it politically as well, right? Same people. David Lammy, oh my God, he's going to do something. Oh no, now he works for white supremacy. Trevor Phillips, oh my God, he's going to do... Oh no, now he works for white supremacy. We don't even talk about Kemi because she's always been there the whole time, So guys, you have to... And this is why it's really important to know yourself and to know who you are and to stay strong in your identity.
100%. So it's important that you mention that, because this is another thing I'd like to say. They say, how can we be racist if we ended slavery? So I believe in 1834, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the act was actually put in 1832, but I believe in 1834, William Wilberforce said that they abolished slavery and they drew the Abolition Act. The Abolishment Act, excuse me. The police force was created by an individual who was knighted, called Sir Robert Peel, and the police force was created, and this is where the nickname of the police force being Bobbies comes from Sir Robert Peel. And he created the police force, and their whole creation was based upon preserving the interest of the upper class. Bearing in mind, the upper class was the ones that were compensated from slavery ending, and they was wanting to protect the wealth that they had now stolen from the world for however long. Then what they did is they created new acts like the Vagrancy Act, which criminalized people who were abolished from slavery or freed from slavery, for not having a job or for not having a house. Yes. These are things that could get you arrested and put into jail. Then when they was put into jail and then loaned back to the same plantations that they were freed from under the title of apprenticeship schemes. So if you go and look up and research the Vagrancy Act or the apprenticeship schemes post-slavery, you'll be able to find this stuff out. But essentially, we're just seeing hypocrisy. the West has no natural resources, and they are solely dependent on extracting resources from the continent that was named after Cyprian Africanus. You know, I prefer to call it Alkebulan or Kush, because realistically, Cyprian Africanus, we shouldn't be celebrating the name of a white man named after Africa, but that's a whole nother conversation. Essentially, what I'm saying is they don't have a leg to stand on, and the only reason why they're having an issue with quote-unquote immigration is because they have an issue with themselves. And I would like to say finally, at my final point, because I do have to go now, is that the trap that is put in place to oppress BLK people is a representation of the capabilities of BLK people. So when you think of the mousetrap, you see that the mousetrap is quite simplistic. There's cheese, there's a flap, it gets caught in the flap, and that's it. Whereas the trap to hold down and oppress and suppress Black people's progression is, through the education system, where we're more likely to be permanently excluded, or we're taught that we were slaves and not taught about Mansa Musa, the richest man to ever walk the face of the earth. It's in the healthcare system where BLK women are more likely to be unalived during childbirth. It's in the police system where we're 8 times more likely to be stopped and searched, even though whitey people are 13 times more likely to be in the possession of drugs. We're also more likely to be unalived in police custody. We're also more likely to be found guilty at trial, even if we've committed the same crime by our whitey counterparts. We're also more... It just goes on and on and on. When we look at the housing system, there is reasons why you see majority BLK areas. These are all things that are socially engineered by these same individuals that are set and put in place to tell us lies, whether it's the Labour Party, whether it's the BNP, whether it's Reform. They all go into that same plantation house, and the sole purpose of that plantation house is to preserve the wealth that they continue to steal, because slavery never ended, it just transitioned. So we also need to stop saying that slavery ended, because it has never ended. It transitioned because they realized, like individuals, like my ancestors, the Maroons, like the Taki Rebellion, like the Sam Sharp Rebellion, like the Baptist Rebellion, and all these other rebellions that were happening in the Caribbean, like the Haitian Revolution, like Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Claude Dessalines. These individuals, because of this is why they ended slavery. So the reality of it is the trap that is put in place is set to oppress Black people, but it's also a representation of our capabilities, right? And that's all I have to say on the matter. And finally, they will never be able to stop BLK people.
Never.
We will always overcome, because we're so resilient, and this is what hurts them the most. It hurts them that they cannot stop us from progressing. They cannot stop us from succeeding. They cannot stop us from winning, and we do it effortlessly. Thank you for having me, Fox. It's been a pleasure as always. Continue fighting the fight, and until next time.
Diego is always a legend. Please do follow him. He is absolutely fantastic. I haven't seen him do lives for quite some time. We're still waiting for him to come back fully, but please follow him. He is awesome. Of course, you see how educated he is, how much he knows about history. He knows about our people. He never pulls any punches. So thank you so much to Diego. Really love and appreciate that guy. We're going to go to Yaye. Then we'll come back to you, Enigma. I'll come back to you. Yaye, I think this is going to be the last rotation, guys. But also, on that note, I want to tell you guys, since all the white people have gone, you see how great this has been. You see how kind and nice and civil the conversation has been, and been very straightforward. And, you see all of the shit that they tried to say about us, it's not fucking true. You see the white people in the beginning, they could not hold a conversation. They would not answer questions. They're immediately like, blah, you need to let me speak, because they want to have their white privilege card where they feel like their behavior is not going to get checked. Don't come to my space if you don't want to be checked, because I'm going to check you straight away. And even Black people, you see, I check you too. I check everybody who comes here. Everybody gets checked. In your homophobia, in your racism, in your ableism, everything, I will check you. And some of you don't even come in the door. That's how it is. Right, Yaye, how are you, my dear?
Hi, hello, I'm okay. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. So, this has turned into a very Black conversation, which is so funny to me. I think it's brilliant, though. But the topic is, unite the kingdom. Why are white people so scared and so racist? That's the conversation. But of course, if you want to talk about Blackness, go for it, brother.
Yeah, I think Diogo stole everything from my mouth. he said everything I wanted to say, but
That's
yeah,
okay.
I mean,
Say again.
the
Say
reason
again
why
in your
they're
words.
scared is,
In your words.
yeah, yeah, I mean, we've been on the right side of history for the last 500 years. So, I mean, we don't need to prove any point. I mean, colonialism, slavery, pseudoscience, all that devastated, black people and the continent of Africa. And yeah, I mean, you spoke about the issue of imperialism, like in DRC Congo. The Congo has got one of the largest deposits of cobalt. They use that to make in, Tesla batteries, iPhone batteries. But look, DRC Congo. I saw somewhere DRC Congo has got resources worth $30 trillion. Like it can actually, lighten up the continent of Africa. Then Congo River can produce electricity for the entire continent of Africa. But look where we are because of, assassinating great leaders like France, Patrice Lumumba, where is he now? Thomas Sankara, and Ibrahim Traore survived so many assassinations. I think we should not rely on few black radical leaders. We should be radical, everyone. Over 1 billion radical people that can transform Africa.
Thank you.
And yeah, that's how I see. And the other problem in the UK, for example, is we black people, sometimes we like judging people. Me, I like defending even black suspects. Like I always defend Chris Kaba, for example, and I often get criticized. Like, why would you kill Chris Kaba? The guy was shot, and people kept on saying, "Oh, he was a career criminal and all that nonsense." Take the man to the court. Like, where is the due process of the law? You are innocent until proven guilty. And yeah, I always like defending people.
I'm just going to interrupt you on that one point, Yaya. The fact that they will always take a black man that has some kind of criminal record and then vilify him. Look at all you need to do is respond is like, look at what white people do. Look at your white leaders. Look exactly what they do. And you wanna say about this one man on the street, your white leaders have done 1,000,000 times worse, and exactly the Epstein list, thank you. They have done 1,000,000,000,000 times worse, historically, than any one of our black people put together. Any one of our black men put together. Stop that narrative. Stop that narrative. You will never hear me speaking badly about black men or black women or black children. Like, never. You will never hear it from me. Because, again, that's the white man's game. You will never find me doing anything like that. Because, like you say, Yaya, if you live in a democracy and there's due process, that man should have gone to court. He should have faced his trial there. Not be unalived in the street. And then for white people to be like, yeah, well, there's another one gone. That is the smartsyism we're talking about. That is it. So don't let them say the same shit like it's okay that happened. It's not fucking okay. Talk about Mark Duggan, same situation. That's not okay. All of those people, all of the black men that get unalived in prison. We talked about smiley culture the other day. Not okay. It is not okay. These are white systems who are using the system to unalive our black men and our black women. Look at those two girls from them years ago. And the police, thank you. I should say their names. We should say their names. Unfortunately, I can't remember the names of those two girls, right? The ones who had their photos shared by the police. They were shared by the police. I think these were the two girls, weren't it, that were shot, bystanding. They got shot. These police officers took photos of their body and then shared it in a WhatsApp group with their white police officer friends, laughing. Don't be a part of that story. Don't do that. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, that's the problem. You see, the way they stood shoulder to shoulder with this convicted hate preacher, Lucy Connolly. We should do the same thing to our black brothers and sisters. We should always stand with them. Unless, of course, they are convicted of a crime. This issue of, falling for the white people, the idea of demonizing people. Like, why, I'm not a police officer, but why you can shoot the tire, for example, if you want. You can use taser if you want. But shooting the person in the head, I don't agree with that. That's why reports say black people are 9 times more likely to have taser used on them by the police than their white counterparts, and 7 times more likely to die as a result of police restraint. So that is the system which is very, very racist towards the black man.
And
But
they
we should not be
use
judgmental.
They use
Yeah.
us as well to actually approve their behavior towards us. Because like you brought up and like we've just said, is that if black people co-sign it, it makes white people think it's okay for them to treat us that way. That's why anything to do with, like I've said, diaspora wars, the N-word, Christianity, white people, all of that stuff is a no-no. An absolute no. We need better for ourselves. We need higher for ourselves. Even when it comes to the BLM protests, right? People are so hung up on the fact that these people, black people who are owed trillions of reparations, bought a mansion. That's the worst thing that we've done. Bought a mansion. You literally don't even want to question your Nigel Farage now for his 5 million. You don't want to question all of the trillions that were stolen with all the lands, but you want to have a go at black people for actually buying a house for themselves. Please, if that's the worst thing we've done, come on now. Come on now. Have some perspective on this shit. Black Lives Matter has done incredible work throughout the whole entire world. This is the first time that we've seen in a long time, since the 90s, that people unified over a cause. Right? In the 90s, you had the Iraq War. People all over the world said, we don't want to treat people like that. Around the world. The next thing was the Black Lives Matter movement. People were coming out of COVID with their masks on saying, don't treat black people that way. Don't forget that. Don't forget the power that we have. Don't forget the fact that people love us. They want us to be here. They know our power and strength. Even those white people who are performative, they know it. They know that we are the chosen ones. They know that we are the people. They know it. You keep forgetting it as black people. Don't forget that shit. Don't ever forget it. Don't forget it. Stop forgetting. Remember, remember, remember. Tell yourself every single day who you are. These people tried to take all of this crap away from us. And anytime something bad happens to one of us, remember, it happens to all of us. How are you going to fight for that change? What are you doing? What are you lending your voice to? Because your voice is energetic. It's powerful. Thank you so much, Ripple Effect. Thank you. Like Yaya has rightly brought up, anything negative you say about our people gets amplified in the most disgusting ways out there. Always talk positive about us. Be real. Be like, that's a problem. But don't ever talk down. I had to tell some of my family members who were still in the motherland, who's still in Nigeria, talking stuff about Nigeria. Be real about Nigeria, but don't talk about it on the white man's internet. Thank you, Charlie. Exactly. It gets weaponized. It always gets weaponized. So remember, anytime that somebody says something about you as black people, it's because white people are scared and racist. Unfortunately or fortunately, this is a white and black conversation. And all the other ethnicities in the middle kind of get lost in the conversation because we happen to be the complete opposite of what white people are. That's unfortunately for us, but also at the same time, it should empower us to understand who we are. And that's it. The conversation isn't just whites exactly, but it is mainly to do with white and white construct. Even people who practice colorism, the lightest skinned Asians still have anti-blackness. That's a separate conversation in my mind. But thank you, Yaya. Exactly. We should look after each other all the time. Thank you, Yaya. And we got Archeodef. I did say it was going to be the last, but we've got a white person who's come up. So I thought, let me let a white man come up and say one thing. And then I'll bring in Enigma and then we will close for today. But Archeodef, how are you today?
I'm all right, thank you. And thank you for letting me talk. I just have a couple of comments and then a question for you all. And maybe, to answer the question, I really appreciate your dialogue and it's really cool. To answer the question, I think it is to do with, as a scholar of the early peoples of these islands, we're constantly in education trying to combat the idea there was a white only or, the idea of a white origin set of islands and the peoples on those islands. And terms like Anglo-Saxons and Celts get weaponized all the time. And this is to do with people who don't want to actually know the complexity of the story of these islands. They want to deny colonial imperial history, right? And it's about weakness and racism, as you say, but it's also about fear. Yeah. And as you say, it's about, they want to sort of, it's very much about trying to avoid the last 500 years and to see some kind of indigenous tribal early origin for themselves to feel some comfort because they don't want to face up to British history. That's the simplified take. But my question, I suppose, building off that is I've been quite vocal and not been very popular in trying to say that we've these terms have problems with them. These terms, Anglo-Saxon, Celtic, but we kind of know what we're talking about here. Most people, you used it in your conversation. I've had some scholars tell me, you shouldn't use these terms at all, and I think that, we know how these terms are being used. We know how they're being weaponized as sort of racial primordial terms. And they seem to be on the rise. So I'd just like to ask you and your followers, do you these claims to being I'm an Anglo-Saxon, I'm a Celt, these for me have been on the rise over the last 10 years as a scholar, seeing people just banding it around on the internet. Am I wrong? Am I right? Have I missed something?
I think it's important, actually, because in terms of black people, right, and brown people, anyone else who lives there, because all the time they're trying to say that we're English or we're not English. All of this stuff about identity is really important. And especially for me, coming as a black person with an English accent, it is important for me to remember my African roots, because if I'm on the side of Englishness, that's going to go against me in the long run. All of this stuff about cultism and tribalism, it is about English people and their identity, because they feel this great replacement theory, right? And I don't want to go down with that ship, because I ain't going anywhere. My people ain't going anywhere. So this and also with this Anglo and this Celt thing, seeing or understanding, or maybe from what you're saying, is no, robot me, I'm not English, I'm African, I'm British born. I'm the first person to be born in Britain. And actually, Infinite, before I come back to your point, Archeo, your Infinite one, you asked me about my genealogy. I actually found it on my phone, because actually I don't have the full information, but I'm 74.2% Nigerian, 14% Sierra Leonean, and there are other African terms, and I think it's like 95%. The 5% is Northern European, funny enough. And why is that? Because my mum is from the Caribbean, she's from Grenada. She was colonized by the French first, and then we were colonized by the English. So I do have some kind of like Anglo-Saxon shit in there. I do, but it's only in the colonizer form, because they break my people. That's my genealogy. So I know I'm fucking African, because it's mostly African, my DNA. Thank you, no problem, you're Infinite one. So yeah, in terms of Celtic people being Celtic, we've got, this is Beth here, she's got some Celtic roots, Paulie as well in the chat, Celtic roots. I think in terms of Celticness, what most people are trying to do is literally separate themselves from the Anglo-Saxon. Because, the voting that happened last weekend, Archeo death, it was very much a case of, okay, well, the Celtic people are actually voting for understanding Britain, not the Anglo-Saxon immigrants and invaders. It's let us see how we're voting. We're voting for our actual respect of ourselves, right? Because Anglo-Saxons in London, they don't care about Scottish, Welsh and Irish people. Their politics has shown that, right? So that's why I think it's important in that conversation to know who people are and where they come from, because then they know the harm that's going to be done to them. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Is there any more points you want to add, Archeo Death? We're going to go to Enigma and then I'm going to wrap up. Yeah.
No, I just really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, love. Thank you. Okay, the Enigma. You've been waiting patiently to come in back this whole time. Go for it, bro.
Yeah, so basically to come back to your point on, like, first and foremost, I'm glad that you are going to start doing diaspora conversations with Black people. That is a good thing that we need to start doing, especially amongst a lot of Afro-Latinos. I feel like that's going to be the hardest group to really break in, because, man, the Spaniards and the Portuguese did a number on them, especially with me being Afro-Dominican. I was fortunately proud that I come from a family that understands that they are Black, but coming across other Dominicans, I know you've probably seen it on the internet. A lot of Dominicans, you ask them if they're Black, I know Black, I Dominican. Black. Yeah, exactly. You get that a lot. So yeah, we definitely need to have those conversations, but also to bring up the point of race as well, because I remember what you was talking about, like having two fully Black parents, and like how you feel like in the American context, how like a lot of Americans try to force that on a lot of biracial children. But what we have to understand about the American context of race is the one drop rule. You know what I mean? Yeah. And even if you did have a like one white parent, or you know what I'm saying, or had some white ancestry, but you had that drop of Black blood, and you phenotypically had a quote unquote black phenotypical features, then you were black.
Yeah,
That's
of
just
course.
what it is. And you know, a lot of the times, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the biracial people were in a lot of the situations that we were in as well. But then there's a nuance to that, because it's kind of like a 50-50. You do have a lot that are, you know what I'm saying, pro-black. They do identify with being black. But then you do also have a lot of the coons that try to infiltrate these spaces and try to, you know, so I'm glad that you are doing that. And then as far as like the Black Panther Party, because I do a lot of research on them as well. Fred Hampton, Bobby Seale, Huey P. Newton, you know what I'm saying? And like one thing that I've said, because in order for us to actually have camaraderie with other groups of people, other ethnic groups, we do have to talk about the problems within our community, but we also have to look at the history of what went wrong, you know what I'm saying, and how the government infiltrated, and a lot of it had to do with them putting black plants within the Black Panther Party. Had a lot of coons that was doing that, like Ed O'Neill. He was one of them. They made a whole, I don't know if you've ever seen with David Kalua. It was called Judas and the Black Messiah. Watch that. That's actually talking about that's actually talking about the plant that infiltrated the Black Panther Party and how he set up Fred Hampton to eventually get murdered. But we also have to look at how all these other groups, like the White Patriot, like the Young Lords, Asian Yellow Resistance Party, and all these when the doors were being kicked in to our things, when the FBI was coming heavily, where were these groups at when we were getting shot at and shit? Like, we have to ask those honest questions, because when I look at history, there were no Young Lords, no Yellow. They were not to our assistance when we were getting pew-pewed in the streets. So we have to also add that as well. Like, where are you guys? Is this an allyship, or are you guys accomplices? Because we don't need performative. Like, we have to know that you guys are going to be social martyrs for what you guys are about to do. If you guys are quote unquote going to be for Black people, we have to see that you guys are willing to sacrifice everything on a social and maybe even a physical level. You may, and I'm just being as completely as transparent and as honest as I can be. People will go. We have to be real. You know what I'm saying?
The universe, I think, has already, like Diego said, the universe has already decided and chosen who those people are, because we can reflect upon our own lives and see how we've lost already, like personal things that have happened to us. I'm a very spiritual person, by the way. So, you know, and that's going to be part of the conversation. That's why I say no overly religious conversations in the Black diaspora space I'm going to do, is that a lot of us in the last few years, 5 years, 2020 year, we know is a pinnacle year, and that how a lot of us have had this spiritual awakening, have had this awakening to decolonize, to go back in history and understand. And as part of the story, we know that the chosen ones are coming out of this, and the leaders are coming out of that. And what I always bring up simultaneously is that even when those people or these people have this leader put on themselves, it is not because we're leaders. It is because we're leading the conversation and bringing people together. This is about community. This is about equality. This is not about cultism, which is what white people follow. They need to have a leader because they're lost. They're lost souls. They need to have that person, right, leading the way and telling them what to do while doing the brainwashing. We're not like that. This is about a group thing, trying to understand who knows themselves, who doesn't know themselves. If you're on the fence and you're understanding the conversation, then this should be the space for you as well to learn and to grow from that space. Yes. I'm going to end it now, guys. There is somebody else who wants to come up, but I'm going to finish it now. I'm going to finish it because I'm tired.
No, most definitely.
Yes. And so thank you so much, everybody, for coming on the conversation. Thank you so much, everybody on the panel right now. You're infinite one. Charlie, I'm glad you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much. The Enigma, thank you so much for your wonderful points. Please do follow. If you guys don't follow me, I'm going to follow you as well, Enigma. Please do click the plus up there. Follow me. Enjoyed the conversation. I do lives. This week, actually, I've done a live almost every day, which is abnormal for me, but usually I do them twice a week. But next week, as I said, I'm going to start the Black Diaspora space. If you don't know me, generally, I talk about English people. I talk about British history. I'm decolonizing. I'm doing all those kind of things and holding the white people accountable, because Who else is going to do it? They didn't do it themselves. So we talk about that, and plus we've removed ourselves from the story as well. So thank you so much. And also thank you always to my wonderful moderators who are here, who make sure that the chat is a very safe place to be. So you got Hermit Sapien, you got This Is Beth. Who else was here? Let me just check up on here. This is Beth. You were working hard today. Thank you so much. I think I saw Kelza in and out. It was mainly This Is Beth. This is Beth. Thank you so much, as always. And thank you everybody else too. So I wish you all have a wonderful, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I really love you and appreciate. Oh yeah, and Anti-Racist Mum was also here. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. When it comes to racism and dealing with all that kind of shit, remember just to protect yourself and protect your energy. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of TikTok lives today at the Unite the Kingdom March. Let's all go there and harass them, because they harassed us for the rest of our lives. Remember, do it, and do it with fun.
Exactly.
Do it with fun. Do it with humor. You'll see everybody else in the comment section. Don't let them take any of the joy away from you. Don't let them get into hatred. That's them. That's them. Right. Thank you again, everybody. All right. Take care, and bye, Enigma. Bye, Charlie. Bye, you Infinite One. Bye, everyone.